Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Caplen, editor of The Banker. We're doing our pre-Sibos videos, and I'm here with David Yates, who's the chief executive of VocaLink, which runs the UK's national payments infrastructure. So David, I mean, that word infrastructure, there's been massive changes going on in the whole infrastructure area at the moment. How do you see this impacting on the payments system?
Well, I think in many ways we are kind of the national grid of the payments world. And I think there's a growing understanding that rather than replicating many different times and federating systems, that there's a real value to consolidating stuff into the middle and getting it done just once. So over the last few years, we've been developing a number of things on behalf of the industry, which are collaborative schemes like the development, obviously, of faster payments, but subsequently cash ISA transfers, 7-day account switching, and in the very near future, launching the mobile platform on behalf of the Payments Council in the UK. Okay,
so I mean, mobile payments is really the buzzword at the moment, isn't it? You know, so I think you've done some research where you look at buying habits of sort of 16 to 24-year-olds, and they're all trying to do it by mobile. And I think you've got a big new launch of a product going on at the moment. Is that right?
That's right. We've done very extensive research. We've researched about 15,000 consumers at this point in time, looking not just at the 16 to 24-year-old segment, but across all age segments. And rather than just calling it mobile, what we're trying to do is to mobilize the bank account and make it usable at the point of sale in e-commerce for doing e-invoicing. So basically make the bank account available to every consumer, whatever they're doing and wherever they are. And so that's a service that we're commercializing under the name Zap. And it aims to produce something of real commercial value for e-commerce, m-commerce, billing, and so on.
Because one of the startling figures you have in that research is the amount of payments that just don't get finished. So presumably people start online or by mobile, and they get bored or distracted, and they just say, I can't be bothered with all this, and give up.
The dropout rate in e-commerce and mobile commerce is simply huge. And within the industry, people talk about every click in that space representing a 10% likelihood of somebody not completing the transaction. So our aim is to reduce the sheer number of requests that you make of a consumer for them to complete a transaction. And what we've done in many of the e and m-commerce payment journeys is to reduce clicks from 15 or 20 clicks down to 4 or 5.
Okay, so now give me an example of how a sort of typical Zap payment would work.
Well, the idea behind it is, first of all, that a Zap payment comes from your bank account. So it's providing the consumer with bank-grade security, first of all. And what happens in a Zap payment is the person who wishes to receive the payment, or the website that wants to receive the payment, always asks the consumer to authenticate and make a payment, rather than it being the other way around. And that's quite important in the following way, that today, if you want to make a payment on a website or on mobile commerce, you're the one who has to input all of your data every single time. So if you're using a card, you're putting in your name, your card number, the merchant details, etc., and it becomes a very cumbersome experience. And here what we do is we put the onus on the person who wishes to be paid to embed all of the payment data inside of the payment request. Then the only job left for the consumer is to say yes or no.
Okay, so it's really straightforward.
It's very straightforward.
And does it have as much use, I mean, you mentioned e-commercing sort of like on the wholesale side as it would on the retail side?
When you say wholesale, you mean for businesses?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm talking about business to businesses.
Well, our initial aim is to bring this out as a service that anybody with a bank account can use. But the people who are most underserved in the payments world right now are small businesses who perhaps are not really able to use the cards networks because they don't want to pay for a point of sale, or because they're quite often remote from their consumers. So a point of sale doesn't enable them really to connect, because in order to really make point of sale work, you need to have point of sale device and card being very proximate. So our first use case is to let small businesses issue an invoice to a consumer, and that consumer can be anywhere. And the consumer simply says yes or no. I want to pay or I don't want to pay.
Okay, so I mean, we've been in quite tough times in the UK, and we're starting to emerge slightly from the clouds. I mean, how much do you think systems like this that speed up the flow of payments and make commerce easier, how much do they contribute to economic growth?
Everything that's happening within faster payments, and Zap uses faster payments, delivers a more or less instant payment from the point of view of the recipient of the money. So if you compare that with pretty much any alternative payment, the Zap one is faster. So it's just speeding up cash flow, and that does have a real impact on the economy.
Okay. David Yates, thanks very much for explaining to us about Zap, and we look forward to meeting up with David and his team in Dubai at Sibos 2013.